Apple just gave us our first look at iOS 17, and some of these features are legitimately crazy. There's so much to talk about today. I wasn't expecting to see this stuff early, so if you guys are excited as me, drop a like, hit subscribe so you always stay up to date on this stuff. And let's jump in. Apple announced all of this ahead of WWDC on June 5th, where they will be officially announcing iOS 17. And what makes this so interesting is that this seems to be a trend for Apple at this point, considering that last year with iOS 16, they did the exact same thing. And while last year the features were really interesting and impactful, this year is like legitimately insane. This first feature is called Assistive Access, and it completely simplifies the entire iOS UI to just be a couple of options so things aren't as overwhelming as complex. And while it's intended for people with cognitive disabilities, I personally think this is going to be helpful for a way larger breadth of people. People like my grandma who get confused when there's a lot going on. For example, the home screen here is exactly and only what you need. You've got music, calls, messages, photos, and camera. And that's it on the home screen. It doesn't look like you're going to have a lot of third-party apps, although I'm sure they could be integrated in here. It's essentially like this is what you need to use your phone and nothing else. And I actually really f with that. These 5 apps that you're presented with, they've also been completely redesigned. For example, in Photos, you've just got a 6x6 grid and a back button. That back button will take you straight back to the last page with those 5 app selections. Next up in Photos, you've got the title at the top, your viewfinder in the middle, and a take photo button with the same back button to go back below. Here's the all-new Calls app, where it just shows you a handful of contacts likely that you will pre-select in the settings for this mode. Then there's the Music app with the play pause button at the top and the songs that you're going to play or select below that, again very simply laid out. And finally in Messages, this is probably the coolest UI we've seen here. It really focuses on emojis only as your responses with a back and a send button. And listen, again, this is an accessibility feature, that's what it is geared for, but aesthetically there is something I really like. Oh my god, that was the loudest thing I've ever heard. Was that as loud for you guys? Whose computer is this? Because it must not be mine. What I was trying to say is that this is an accessibility feature, but if you look at the design of this, there's something about the depth and the way the buttons look that I really, really like, and I hope we see some level of texture like this return to the rest of iOS in iOS 17. The buttons look more bubbly, and the interface feels more full of life and like depth than we've had in a long time. iOS has been flat since iOS 7, and I am extremely ready for the next era, and maybe this is the beginning of that. Now, real quick, before moving on with the rest of the video, I do want to tell you about the phone case that I've been using, which is made by CaseCoo, who sponsored today's video. Not only am I rocking this sleek and protective case on my personal phone, it features one of the coolest things I've seen in a while, which is the Magic Stand that folds out of the MagSafe ring and allows you to prop your phone up in portrait or landscape mode, making it perfect for watching videos or FaceTimes. And CaseCoo just added Klarna support to their website, so you have the ability to shop now and pay for your items over time with 0 interest. This is the CaseCoo Magic Stand case. It's what I'm rocking on my phone. Check them out. Links down below in the description. The sick. Okay, now let's get back to iOS 17. Next up is a pair of features that have to do with voice. The first is when you're on a phone call, like a FaceTime, and you might not have the ability to communicate as you'd like. So instead of speaking, or if you don't have the ability to do that, you can just type what you want to say. And in iOS 17, you have this new interface that you can type whatever you'd like into. Or if there's common phrases you use, you can also save those and have them available on demand to tap through, and your phone will speak them back to the person for you. But this extends outside of phone calls as well. If you just want to go to your lock screen, Apple shows off how this is going to look, where you can just type whatever you want and your phone will basically say what you're trying to say, with autocorrection as well available for some common phrases. And while that's cool, right, your phone using an AI voice to talk for you, what if it was your voice? Or what if you were diagnosed with ALS and you were starting to lose your motor skills in a way that you couldn't talk like you used to? I don't get, I mean, I feel like I'm generally serious here, but I don't get like serious that often to where like I'm actually serious. And this new feature called Personal Voice is like, it's legitimately one of the coolest and most meaningful features I would say Apple's ever dropped in the entire company's history. This feature has you sit down in front of your iPhone for 15 minutes and record you saying 150 different phrases. Now, that sounds like a lot, and 15 minutes is definitely not like a super short amount of time, but what you get out of this is pretty remarkable. Because after you're done with that process, what Apple will do is use an AI and an algorithm to synthesize those phrases into a custom voice, a robotic made version of your voice. So that one day, if you do lose your voice, if you're at risk of that, your phone, when you're typing these phrases, will sound like you. Not only do you get the ability to hear that again, but to your loved ones and the people around you. Like, people are always like, why are you an Apple fan? And it's just like, this is why. There's just no, I mean, this is an accessibility feature first and foremost. I do want to stress that. But there are many situations where if you are sick with laryngitis or another thing short term where you can't use your voice, or you screamed too loud at a concert the night before and messed up your voice. Like, there's so many applications for this. I'm talking in circles. It's just one of those features that is insane, and it's so cool that this summer it's coming in beta for iOS 17. Next up, Apple's given us actually our first video of something in iOS 17. They've added a new feature to magnifier, and I want to show you how it works. So the example Apple gives us is this microwave where a user may have low or no vision, and they can simply point with their finger what they want to push or potentially push, and your iPhone will read it back to you via voiceover so that you know what you're about to press. Apple basically combined the LiDAR sensor, your camera, and on-device machine learning to generate all this data in real time. And the only example we have so far is a microwave, but Apple references that there will be other household appliances that this works. It could be a stove, it could be your laundry machine. A lot of places where people that have low or no vision could really use this. Like my grandma was going blind, and I'm just like, man, I wish that she could have gotten to use this. So those three features are the big tentpole updates coming in iOS 17. But then there's all this other stuff that Apple added too. For users that are hard of hearing, you can directly pair made for iPhone headphones now to the Mac. It doesn't have to just be with the iPhone, and you'll be able to fully customize them there. This is something that I think gets overlooked a lot, but made for iPhone hearing aids are a super big deal. Voice control for the first time is adding phonetic suggestions so you can differentiate between do, D-U-E, and D-E-W so that you can get out exactly what you want to say. Probably my favorite on this list is somebody who plays video games is an update to switch control, which already is a super innovative way to use the iPhone. You get something like this and you're able to navigate the operating system depending on how you interact with this switch device connected to the iPhone. And with iOS 17, you'll be able to use the switch as a virtual video game controller, allowing people that might only be able to interact with their phone and through their switch now able to play a ton of games on their phone. Following that, a good amount of people I know have adjusted the text size on their phone, and now that's going to be easier to do, it sounds like, on a per app basis. Apple references doing that across Finder, Messages, Mail, Calendar, and Notes on the Mac specifically should have better options. iOS 17 can also adjust the way GIFs work now. If you are a user who is sensitive to rapid animations, you'll be able to automatically stop the GIF in Safari or Messages before it gets too out of control, therefore stopping you from coming into contact with that. And finally, perhaps what is the longest running accessibility feature on the iPhone, VoiceOver, where it can read content on your screen. The Siri voice should be more natural and expressive than it's been before, Apple says. So that's all the new accessibility stuff. I was planning to stop the video here, but for entertainment's sake, I want to entertain the possibility that some other leaked images of iOS 17 could be real. There's been a lot of drama with this source, so I don't know what's real and what's not. Again, just presenting this for the sake of entertainment. The first thing we have allegedly seen here is a look at the new Maps UI on the lock screen, where you will actually be able to view your notifications and it won't take up your entire display, where it also seems like the user interface is a bit cleaned up here. It is weird how Maps just completely wrecks your lock screen right now and you can't really view anything else, so this would actually be a pretty nice upgrade. Following that, while there was a major update to the wallpaper section last year, Apple's doing even more with iOS 17. They're going to be doing a new wallpaper grid, and you'll have the ability to more easily rearrange things and also share items here, like your lock screen, with other people. This actually does seem pretty believable since you can share watch faces on your Apple Watch with others, and since the lock screen is so customizable on iOS 16, it makes sense on iOS 17 to be able to share that with other folks. After that, we also got an alleged first look at the Health app, which is going to be more focused on a bigger button-like UI that doesn't have everything hidden away in the other section like it does now. And as somebody who tracks my meds here, it's always hidden and out of the way, and it definitely needs an update that looks vaguely like this. And finally, perhaps the most realistic of all of these images here is an update to the Wallet app. Mark Gurman, who is a very credible source, has said that Apple is going to be changing some stuff with iOS 17. So this basically separates out your cash, your cards, your keys, your IDs, and your orders into a tab-based UI rather than having essentially all in the same place as it is now. There's also a search, which could be helpful if you have a lot of cards. And again, presenting all this for entertainment value. And I can't wait to talk about all of this live in person the day after Dub Dub on June 6th with a ton of you in person in San Francisco. Because I'm doing a live show there where myself, John Prosser, Luke Miani, and Noah Rubin are going to be reacting with you, like in the same room for the first time ever, to what Apple announces. This event in its entirety is made possible by our friends over at Clean My Mac, who has great features like Smart Scan that can clean up your disk and get rid of any unnecessary files so your Mac is always a top performance. It's the best, and tickets are on sale right now at geniusbargoesdark.com. I am so excited to meet all of you there. Come hang out. There's even VIP tickets if you want like some one-on-one time later. We got some special stuff planned for VIPs. It's gonna be great. I'm so excited. Thank you guys for this video. Thank you for watching me. I feel very filled with gratitude randomly, and I appreciate you guys. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. I always do a long outro, but goodbye. We gotta go.